And we are live.
Good evening, everybody. We are raging with Max DeVill this evening, episode 70, and we are simulcasting to Geek Insider as well as Ragin AVC over on YouTube. If you are tuning in on Twitter, make sure you get over to YouTube because if you want to interact and leave comments and stuff like that, we can't see it over on Twitter. So get over there and hit the button, subscribe while you're there. We are also simulcasting to Facebook, but Facebook is ass. We're trying to get out of there. But yeah, we've got an intro. We're going to be talking to Max DeVill about his creative journey and Human Hunters, which is out on Kickstarter right now. The links are in the show notes, so make sure that you give it a little bit of love. If you backed it, great. If you haven't, just give it a share. We appreciate you, and we'll be right back after this.
Raging.
That's right. We are raging with Max DeVill this evening. We're going to be talking about his creative journey. I'm going to drop the card here and say hello.
What's up?
What's up, Max?
How you doing?
Doing really good. You have been a very busy guy. Mary Machine Gun, and now you've got Human Hunters. What the heck are you doing?
I'm running a publishing company. we've got Mary Machine Gun, and then we did Neo Tokyo, The Truth is a Virus, and now we're doing Human Hunters, and we've done Mary Machine Gun issue 2.
Now, I have to say, anybody who's tuned into the show, you've heard this time and again, my creative journey with comic books started about 2 years ago, and it's one of the hardest things that I've ever done. Now, you're doing comics, you've got a publishing company. What the hell were you thinking? Like, what in the world got you into this world?
Well, I've always was a comic nerd growing up, obviously. Every one of us were, or, at least found comics somehow. But I really didn't do much with it. I wanted to, I tried to license Bill the Bull from Heart, probably 6 or 7 years ago, and he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't bite. So I was like, okay, fine. Then I'll make my own comic book. And I was like, that's where it started at first. It was with Mary Machine Gun because it was a comic that I had written and I was really passionate about it and found a wonderful art team with Fern Cord is doing he does for Mary Machine Gun. He does all of it. He does the pencils, the inks, the coloring. The only thing he doesn't do is the lettering, which is SK. Let's see.
Well, but what was the moment where you said, yeah, I want to make comic books?
Okay, this is what it was. I went to the comic shop and I was like, I want to see what Marvel is doing with the X-Men because it's a pretty big property for Marvel, but it's not something that's been recently used in a lot of film. So, it won't have all that extra polish. It's kind of I consider it's they're treating it sort of like a B tier, like a high B tier product. So I'm like, let's see what they're doing with it. And I looked at it and the art looked like trash and the colors looked like flats. And I was like, I can do better than this. And I don't even draw. I'm like, so if I could find someone that could actually draw this, I could just do my own story. I've got that Mary Machine Gun thing I've been kicking around. I've got downstairs half written on the computer. I'll finish it, and then I'll find an artist.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did. I finished it, and then I found an artist, and we started working together. And that was actually John Epple, who we first started working with, and he did some character designs and stuff like that, and did a couple test pages. And his art style just wasn't what I was looking for, because I wanted it to go with that Top Cow Zenoscope style look, and his was very stylized, which it looked cool. Don't get me wrong, it looked awesome, but it just wasn't what
You
I was
had a
looking
certain,
for.
yeah, you had a certain vision in your
Yeah.
head, and it was just not quite there yet.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about your writing process. You know, do you go straight to script? Do you write in prose first and then kind of hammer it out and section it out? What does that
Um.
look like?
So I do what I call and then.
And then, oh, you're a total pantster then.
So I'll be like, then I'll write it out. I'll be like, they do this, and then they do this, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then they do this, and then they do this, and then this happens, and then this happens. And I take all that and I turn it into an outline.
Uh-huh.
And then once it's all outlined, I try to create the outline to where the outline's basically each bullet point is a panel. And then I have my base for my panels, and then I can go in and actually write it. When I write it, we write the panels. But my writing process has changed a little bit lately, because I brought Johnnie Reed on, and we're doing a lot of writing together.
Mhm.
So it's been really cool to be able to have somebody else to bounce an idea off of, and then they could tell you, hey, that's stupid. don't do that. That's dumb. That don't even sound good. How would it, don't do that. Or, you sometimes come up with like, that's an awesome idea. Fantastic. Let's do that. Or we could tweak it a little bit like this. Let's do it this way. And then we could tie it in to this is what we were going to do before. Remember that? And then we could tie that in together. And
Mhm.
because like pretty much everything except for the Neo Tokyo stuff, everything we make is all in the same universe. I would call it a universe. I mean, it's just a comic world.
Mhm.
I can't
Well,
use anyone else's universe, so I have to create my own.
you know, when you said working with a writing partner, that to me just seems difficult. Now, and let me
It,
preface this by saying, like when I was in high school, we used to pass around a notebook and write stories. We would do fanfic and all that stuff, and pass the notebook in between class. And we were only allowed to write one page. So I had a friend who wrote really teeny tiny so she could get her whole idea, and then I was writing big, and and you would get to a point in the story where you on your page, you're thinking one direction, the next person comes in and it just goes sideways.
Go somewhere else completely.
Right. So
Yeah.
what is that like with you and having a writing team or a writing partner?
I've been really fortunate in that half the time I'll be typing something, and then Johnny's like, we should do this. And I'm like, already in the middle of writing it, man.
Cool.
I mean, we're synced up just like that. And when we do have things where we want to go in different directions, we just kind of sit down and we're like, okay,
Ladders and chairs. No?
exactly. It's like, well, which direction do we want to go? What if we go with this direction? What can we do with that later?
Mhm.
And then if we go, my direction, this is what we can do with that later. We always have, because you always have to be looking forward with comic books. I mean, you can always do like flashbacks and stuff like that, which we do a lot of in Mary Machine Gun,
Mhm.
just to tell the story. But we do a flashback inside of a flashback.
Do you ever get lost when you do that though?
No, because that's the beautiful thing about captions.
Mhm.
You just put, it's not really a flashback anymore because it's just like 1862 and
Right. So when you first started writing and stuff, and I love that you said and then because it's really hard a lot of times, like an idea will pop into our heads, whether it's just I've heard some people say they had a whole idea for a book based on a title
yeah.
or based on a character. So where do you think most of your ideas come from when it comes to your stories?
A lot of my ideas for my stories basically come from like old Dungeons and Dragons games or old superhero games that we used to play. I I can't remember the name of the game that we used to play all the time. I've got it somewhere, but I don't want to waste your time. But
Oh,
it was
you're not
a,
wasting our time. This is a lot of fun. I mean,
it was a,
that's it. It's about the creative journey,
yeah, it was a superhero game, and like Mary Machine Gun was one of my superheroes that I made in that game. I made uh many of them, and even now when we make new characters, we create character sheets in role-playing game systems
Mm,
for those characters so we can say, okay, their strength level is, if we're doing D&D, like character sheets, it'd be like Mary's strength is 17 because she's pretty strong for, because she's got the Amaranthian pool made her stronger, and she's fast, so her dex is 16, and, and
yeah.
charisma's 18, of course, because that's what sells the book.
So tell us a little bit about the character sheets because we've talked to quite a few people and not too many of them have used character sheets as far as character development. I mean, several
I
have.
love character sheets.
Yeah.
Character sheets are great. But it's one of those things where I don't know that people come at it as something that you should do as a preliminary. Maybe it's an afterthought after they've developed the first book or something and they go, "Huh. All right, well, I got to talk to this team," or maybe you're working with a new team and you have to catch them up. So all of a sudden it's like, "Oh, well, it's almost by necessity."
Yeah, I mean, we I'm looking at a book right now trying to find an example of a character sheet that we like to use because it's in this one system called Ex Machina, and it's a D6 based system, and I'm not seeing the character sheet. But anyways, um, we like to create character sheets from the beginning. We don't do it afterwards. We kind of create the characters as we're going because both me and Johnny, big tabletop role playing nerds. We've been doing it for here's a Shadowrun book. So that'll have a character sheet right here in the back.
There you go. So I mean it's like really in depth as far
Yeah,
as
I
like
miss those days, man.
yeah.
mhm.
So I mean, it gives you everything you could possibly need to know about your character, and you can, as you tell your story, if you want to change or add stuff, you write it in pencil.
Yeah.
It's got an eraser on there,
What
and
a concept.
you can change it.
Uh-huh. So when you're developing these characters and things like that, when it came to let's just talk about Mary Machine Gun for a little bit.
Yeah.
When it came to developing her character, I mean, was it inspired by something you saw? Was it like where did she come from? How did she start speaking to you?
Um, I was probably 17 years old when I created the character. Mutants and Monsters. That was the name of
Mm.
the game.
Nita probably knows.
Yeah. But I was 17 and I had a thing for nuns. at the time. I was I was into nunsploitation movies and all the nunsploitation stuff, and it just when nuns with machine guns,
Hmm.
they had, and then the thing that really kicked it off was when Netflix had nude nuns with big guns, and I was like, you know what?
Sold.
If nuns are on Netflix, then maybe it's time for me to go ahead and do Mary as a comic book, and that's really kind of where it kicked off, I guess. So earlier, the answer to your question would be the inspiration was nude nuns with big guns.
That's brilliant.
That's awesome. Plus, you were 17, boobs.
I want to know what your favorite tabletop games are.
My favorite tabletop games, I like Shadowrun a lot because I like cyberpunk stuff.
Right.
I liked Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. I like Iron Crown Enterprises, the what do they call it? Roll Master. I like the really crunchy systems with a lot of calculations and dice and stuff like that. I don't like the D20 stuff is just kind of all burnt out for me. It just feels like an MMO on paper.
Right.
And I'm just kind of over the whole, okay, you roll a D20 and add something to it. And it's like, that's all you do. Okay. I mean, Warhammer, you take a critical damage and then you roll on a table and it's like, oh, your arm is broken. It's going to take 8 weeks to heal. And you're in the middle of a dungeon with a broken arm. And so that med kit comes in handy, and you can set it and you still can't use it because it's broken, but you can set it and put it into a sling or something, get it till you can get to some real medical attention,
Right.
or to a healer. I mean, it adds a whole different level to the game, because I think people that are playing D&D, it's so easy that it's kind of made people lazy when it comes to role
Yes,
playing.
exactly. Yeah, I remember sitting around, and I mean, we would have these really expansive, detailed journeys and quests and things like that, and events, and it seems to be missing
Yeah.
because I don't know. I don't. There are some things that just really don't need to be dumbed down.
No, I mean, and it's the I DM most of the time.
I was going to say, like, it really boils down to your fucking DM, man.
Forever DM.
Mhm.
That's me. But we played a lot of second edition 2E. That was my jam back in the day. We used to play that all the time. I had all the brown books, all the everything. I still have my player's handbook from then. It's falling apart, but this is my player's handbook from back then.
Well loved, man.
Yep.
Yeah, I liked a little bit of the AD&D, but I really got into like Vampire Masquerade and Werewolf Apocalypse.
That's Johnny's favorite thing is Vampire and Werewolf. I liked Vampire a lot. Don't get me wrong. I liked it a lot. We played a lot. Actually, that was the first game that I LARPed.
Me too.
Vampire the Masquerade.
Me too. We went all through Baton Rouge, even trespassing on the grounds of the governor's mansion at night. It was great.
We played at University of Florida in Gainesville, Florida.
Oh, fun.
So it was pretty cool. And the bars surrounding it, of course, and it was fun to go out there and actually have to uphold the masquerade, and you don't know who's playing with you and who isn't playing with you, because one of the bars was called Full Circle and it was a goth club. So you didn't know who was playing and who wasn't playing for real there. I mean, it's kind of easy to pick the people out that was playing the game in the regular bars, because it's anyone who's like really dressed up.
Mhm.
Because
And then
you're
staying in character the entire time.
exactly.
It was awesome. We
Mhm.
did that one night, best night of my life, dude. Started off with a roll of a fucking die and a hit of acid, and we in Baton Rouge, and it ended somewhere in the French or Jackson Square at around 5 a.m. the next day.
That would be good stuff. I would love to play on the acid. I never played. I never LARPed on acid. Eaten a lot of acid, but I never actually LARPed on acid
And it was
before.
wild, man. I swear to God, I watched somebody's hand turn into a fucking dragon claw, and I was like, "Oh shit! I'm just not gonna look over here right now."
Was Zamishi flesh forming or something?
I don't know what the fuck's going on, dude. I was just like, "Oh."
Okay. Well, since you said vampire, so which clans?
I was a Samisi the last time, but Malkavian is my
Your
preferred.
Malkavians you've preferred,
Yeah,
and your werewolf, which what do they call them, packs or whatever?
gang. Oh geez, I can't even remember what pack I was in werewolf. I only did 2 werewolf campaigns.
We
And
used to play World of Darkness campaigns where it was like
was it?
werewolf, vampire, mage, the Ascension, Hunter, the Reckoning, Wraith.
Oh wow.
You could play you could play anything from any of the World of Darkness stuff because we had all the books. So why not? So it was pretty fun.
Do you think that all of the RPGs and things like that have? I mean, I would assume so, but I just wanted to hear it from you
Yeah.
that has kind of shaped your storytelling,
Oh yeah.
how you not just in character development, but just bringing that whole world to life and in your how you kind of put it all together.
Well, DMing or GMing, whatever you want to call it, it's world building. I mean, a lot of it is you can take stuff that's already been written for you, like they have modules and stuff that are like you can get the Forgotten Realms box set that's got all the stuff about the Forgotten Realms. Well, someone else did the world building instead of you. So, I mean, while I did play in the Forgotten Realms a lot, which is my favorite campaign setting, I also did a lot of my own campaign settings, or I edited stuff in the Forgotten Realms to match how I wanted things to be. I like to play a lot of the really dark fantasy that's got a lot of political intrigue. So, um, it's very Games of Thrones, except for um, in my games, the characters usually aren't the main characters of the story. And a lot of people they don't understand that. They don't, like, what do you mean we're not the main characters? And I'm like, you're level 4, guy. You're not the main character or nothing.
Mhm. And sometimes it's the world itself,
Yeah,
and it's just the people who come in, they come and go,
yep. But
and
but
that's what.
it definitely did shape how I write and how I could do my world creation and universe creation and character creation and how I like to do things. I mean, like as I said, I like the political intrigue aspect of a lot of things. So that's like in Mary Machine Gun. That's why we have the Templar Order working with the Catholic Church to keep their agents hidden. That's how the Templar Order moves their agents around, is by hiding them as nuns or priests or whatever. And now they can move to Baton Rouge and no one blinks an eye because it's just a new nun that showed up, but she's there to hunt a vampire.
When it comes to thinking about conflict and resolution, do you do you just sit there and say, what is the worst possible situation she could be in, and then how the hell is she going to get out of it? Like what, or is it a case of and then?
Well, luckily, this one, when I first started writing Mary, I was like, okay, we're gonna follow Sid Field. We're gonna do 3 acts. We're gonna do 3 books. We're gonna do 3 books and 3 acts, and that's gonna be it. And then I wrote book 1, and then I wrote book 2, and I was like, um, I've got way too much story to tell for just 3 books, so I'm gonna need to go ahead and make this 4 books. So, I mean, the story kind of dictates how many books we make of something, but and I don't think that was the question that you asked, but
Well, no, what's cool is that I love the idea, and of course, my husband. We changed the time of our interview, and my husband's probably home, which is why the dogs are barking.
that's all right.
Uh,
My dog will bark soon enough whenever the UPS man shows up.
yeah. So, I guess what I wanted to say to ask was, if I don't kill my dog, is when when you're putting the characters together in the world building and stuff like that, the the story kind of has a life of its own, right?
Yeah,
And so, when you said that you wanted to go with like a 3-book story arc, and then all of a sudden it's 4, who's to say there couldn't be a 5th, because you're kind of getting into this writing thing. Um, there are some writers out there who are very strict. They're like, nope, I only want a 24-page book for this, and this, so that there's consistency throughout. And then there are others who are like, no, it's going to be as long as that bit takes.
yeah. That's how I write. I mean, it's just we go until we let the story dictates how many pages it is, and it's fortunate that um I'm working with Fernando, and he's given me a fantastic rate on these pages because if he wasn't giving me the rate that he gives me on the pages, the books would probably definitely be closer to 24-page books. But that's one of the things with uh Atrocity Press books is we usually make them 34 or 32 at least, maybe 34, anywhere to 44. I think the 4th issue of Mary Machine Gun, I think, is 48 pages.
Wow. Okay.
So, I mean, it's a double, it's a full official double issue.
Hmm.
But
And is that because that story section really kind of required it, or did
yeah,
you
we actually
not have somebody like Nita says, cut it, you don't need it?
I'm not that mean.
Yes, she
we
is.
usually go through, me and Johnny together, and we're always like, is this germane to the story? Do we need this in there? And a lot of the times it'll be something like, we can cut that. And it's like, well, we were going to cut that, but remember, we've got it written because we're like 4 or 5 issues written ahead of what we're producing. It's like, but remember, in this issue, we've got the callback to that moment, and we got to have that. I'm like, oh yeah, we can't cut that. Okay, let's keep going. And we try to cut it if it's unnecessary. But we're telling the story of basically Mary and Charlotte in this little series. It's kind of kind of Star Wars-ish in that way, I guess, to how you're kind of telling the story of Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker at the same time, because Darth Vader you thought was the big bad guy, and then you find out that there's an emperor, and Darth Vader's just a lackey.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. And I mean, for everybody who's tuning in, thank you. We're going to be taking a break pretty quickly. And I mean, I know we're talking a lot about Mary Machine Gun. It seems to be a passion project for you. But Human Hunters is out on Kickstarter
Yeah.
right now.
Human Hunters is out on Kickstarter right now. There's 10 days left. Last I checked, we were at 96 backers, 4 away from adorable. So if we could get 4 backers by the end of the weekend, I would be extremely happy. Human Hunters is the super quick tagline pitch is sexy famous monsters plus the A Team plus Mission Impossible equals Human Hunters.
Mhm. And I love the idea of human hunters. I love the idea of human hunters because humans are nasty creatures.
Yes, humans are the worst of the worst.
They're the villains.
That's one of the things that if you'll see a lot in our books, like especially like going back to Mary Machine Gun again, but in Mary Machine Gun, humans are the worst of the worst. I mean, she kills these supernatural creatures that are like werewolves will, just lay waste to entire towns. And yes, they're bad, but humans are sex trafficking people and doing all these just totally disgusting things. So that's one of the things that we always like to try to wrestle with in our stories. We give it, we like to address real life problems. I mean, Human Hunters, this first issue, it's an introductory issue, full of action. The whole book is almost nothing but action because it's a heist book. We introduce the characters. We introduce the character of Christine, and then follow her right off the bat as they're stealing a vase from that was stolen from a family in World War II. It's priceless, and they're getting it back for this family. And then she decides that she wants to have a little fun and sets the alarm off.
Well, we're going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to talk about Human Hunters a little more, and of course your creative journey, and I want to hear a little bit more about Atrocity Press. But let's take a little bit of a break here. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is Ragin with Max DeVill. We are talking Human Hunters, his creative journey, and we appreciate you for tuning in. Hey, Nita, you want to grab a bump?
You want to show some love to our dudes?
Absolutely.
All
Our
right.
friends over at Catch the Craze.
It's Monty Moore. I'm a 30-year comics veteran in comics, games, and movies, and you've been watching one of my absolute favorite podcasts, Catch the Craze.
You are watching Catch the Craze.
What am I listening to?
And you're listening to Catch the Craze.
Where are all the indies at? A Catch the Craze podcast. What are you watching?
I'm watching Catch the Craze.
What are you going to do?
Subscribe now to Catch the Craze, the #1 show online for independent.
Have you subscribed to?
You are an independent. Catch the Craze! Making moves on your own. Catch the Craze! On your grind in the streets. Catch the Craze! Join the movement. Catch the Craze!
Yeah, we are not Catch the Craze. They're cooler than we are. We are Raging with Nita and Meredith here. And tonight we have Max DeVill.
Yay.
So, the creative journey, Atrocity Press. Let's talk a little bit about the business of comics. I think a lot of people come into the industry. They see these crowd funds that make 5-6 figure monies, and they're like, oh, that's easy. It's just pictures and words. Well, Max, you know a little bit better than that, don't you?
Yeah. No, there is Kickstarter, and crowdfunding has revitalized the independent comic book market. It's created a renaissance of independent comic books, but they're also, these books are boutique markets. This is a boutique market now. There's very, very specific clients to very, very specific products.
Right.
One of the bigger ones would be Brian Pulido and Lady Death. I mean,
right.
he's got a rabid fan base that sticks with it and buys everything that he puts out. And good for him, I mean, way to go. I'm really excited for that. That's cool that an independent can do that. And then you've got the smaller campaigns that do 4-5 figures, or in the low 4 or low 5 figures and 4, and that's the more common. If you've got it, that's usually the common goal people will set. About $7,000 is what
they want to maybe pay for a little bit more art and fulfillment and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Printing and shipping and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people come into the business and they don't realize how much upfront money and time.
Oh yeah.
comes
I
with it.
I I pay for everything out of my pocket before. Like the books are created by Fernando. Like for Mary Machine Guns created by Fernando. American or Human Hunters is Mateus Duarte on doing pencils, and Fran Cord, which is Fern's brother, doing inks, and Adam Ramos is doing the colors. And there's that team is just fantastic. They've been nailing it. I mean, you guys have seen the artwork.
Mhm.
I mean, with Adam's colors on top of all that stuff, those guys are just tearing it up.
There are times though.
And
Yep, go
but
ahead.
but I pay for it all out of pocket up front, and then I try to recoup my cost through my Kickstarter, which is different than some people will do, because some people will say, we want to kickstart this book. Here's the team that we got using it. We've got a story, but we need the money to pay the artists to do the things, and we can't fulfill for a year, you know. And those are the books that I personally am leery about backing,
Yeah,
because
because you don't know if you'll ever see it.
exactly.
Mhm.
So I mean, like with our books, it's ready by the time the Kickstarter comes. So the only thing we're kickstarting is the printing cost, and hopefully I can make enough money back from what I invested into it. You know, I
Right.
understand that these are brand new IPs, and I'm going to take some losses to start with. You know, it's just the way it is. People don't know who we are yet. We're getting known.
Mhm.
We've gotten 5 campaigns down now, and we've fulfilled early every time.
Which is awesome, and that's a testament to having your stuff ready, having that investment up front so that it's basically print ready. You know,
Yep.
maybe some lettering or some last minute stuff that needs to be handled and things. But what was kind of, for you, what was kind of the shit or get off the pot moment when you said, I want to do comics. I want to see if I can make a go at this. If I can, instead of being in the red all the time, because from what you're saying, it's upfront
Yeah.
investment, people. um what was that moment for you, and what would you say um might be that gap stop where you're like, okay, enough's enough, this isn't happening, or does that even exist?
Um, the stopgap thing doesn't exist for Mary Machine Gun.
Mhm.
I will always continue to do Mary Machine Gun as long as I, unless I become destitute and homeless,
Right.
this book will be made. Um, the other books, I'm willing to put at least 5 years into, because
That's quite an investment in time.
yeah,
Yeah, dedication.
because, well, I mean, you have to, from just standard research and everything, most small businesses fail before the first 5 years.
Mhm.
So
Usually in the first one, the first
exactly.
year.
And we've been around for almost 3 now.
Mhm.
So as Atrocity Press, we've been around for almost 3 now. And I figured, if I've got the money to fund the business for the first 5 years, that it's not going to fail.
Mhm.
It's just going to be me investing into something, and hopefully it pays off. And people have really, they've grabbed onto Mary, they've grabbed onto this the Human Hunters book. um the 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 Cyberpunk book didn't do as well as we had hoped it would have done, but it was a different style of story. It
Mhm.
was more Paul Verhoeven. It was written by a guy named Josh Hadley, and his style was very surreal. So it was a little different for people. I don't think they were quite
Quite
ready for it.
expecting that from Atrocity Press.
Yeah, they were
The
looking for more Zenoscope and boobies.
Right. Well, I mean, does that frustrate you or make you think twice about like the direction? Because a lot of times, people they put out a great IP, people are on, they really buy into it, and then you're like, but I'm a creator, I love these other worlds too, and then they're like, nah, I mean, that's frustrating as a creator.
Yeah. I haven't quite gotten to the point where I can't create what I want to create, but I have gotten to the point where my budget is maxed out. So, the books that we're creating, I've got 3 teams technically, because I've got Fernando doing Mary Machine Gun.
Mhm.
I've got Mateus and Fran and Adam doing Human Hunters. And then we've got Alex doing the pencils, Fran's doing the inks, and Adam's doing the colors for Teenage Ninja Bimbos versus Zombies from Deep Space.
That sounds like more boobs there, Max.
That definitely is it's going to be a booby book. It's my homage to my love of 80s horror flicks.
I love it. Oh my gosh.
I love
When
it.
when can we expect that one?
The Human Hunters book number 2 and the Teenage Ninja Bimbos book are pretty much neck and neck in production right now.
Okay.
I think it's going to come down to whichever one has less pages.
Oh,
yeah.
And that's how we're gonna that's the one you'll see first.
Okay. All right. One of the things that I love talking to people about is team building. Nita and I
Oh, yeah.
have been through we've been through the wars. We've kissed a lot of frogs before we've gotten to a couple of princes and or princesses. and it's really kind of cool to see how people have built their teams, because I know from experience, once you find out who the frogs are and you kind of put them on the side. You don't want to burn any bridges, but then you find
Yeah.
the really good ones and you pray to God that that they're going to be available for your next project.
Exactly.
Yes. So what was it like for you to kind of build these teams and say, okay, we're at a point where we're doing shorthand, let's try and keep it together? That's hard.
Yeah. The way I built the team is, first off, we brought Fernando on to do colors, is what it was to begin with. He was going to be a colorist, and I wasn't happy. As I said, I wasn't happy with the art direction for Mary, and I wanted to do something different. And Fernando did a couple sketches, and I was like, bam, that's exactly what I wanted. And he was like, well, I can do it. And that's that for that. And then after that, he was like, hey, my brother is an inker, and he's got to have surgery because he's got varicose veins, and he needed some money. So I was like, well, let's bring him on, do some inking for us. And then I was like, you go to he went to the school. It's basically the Kubert School, but in Brazil. It's called the Russian Studio. I always get it wrong. Rashundo Studio something. But he went to school there, and so we basically were pulling the best students that we could from this studio to be part of the team. And it wasn't who was the best artist. It was who was the best artist, who could take criticism the best, who can make changes, who doesn't take offense when you say, hey, change this.
Deadlines.
Who's got the ability to do really dynamic stuff, because you don't want your things looking like plastic figures just floating in the air doing this type of thing.
Right.
You got to have
A glorified stick figure.
exactly. But then we built the teams, our whole entire team like that. But for team building and team to continue to foster our teams, we have the thing with the AIP, it's the Artist Improvement Program at Atrocity Press, and we send them to classes at the studio. We'll send them to anatomy classes at the colleges. We'll send them to we've got domestica accounts, and we've got specific things in Portuguese for them to improve themselves, and it it gives us a better product as Atrocity Press, and it improves the artists. It helps them evolve faster. So it's a win-win for both of us. Now I just hope that they stick around.
I love that because in a way it's kind of that pay it forward mentality to
Right.
hone your craft, be better, and always be kind of uncomfortable. There's always something to learn. There's always something to
Oh, yeah.
improve upon. And so what I didn't realize that about Atrocity Press. So when it comes to talent and things like that, are you guys open to submissions? Are you open to artists and things like that, or
Yep.
is it by invitation only?
No, we do take submissions. Submissions at atrocitypress.com is where to submit your portfolios to, or your links to your portfolios. That's the only way that we take people is through this process, because that's test number 1. Can you follow directions? Because we tell everyone to submit to submissions at atrocitypress.com, and then after that it goes to Fernando, and then Fernando will do his evaluation of them, because he's the artist and he knows way more than I do when it comes to all the technical aspects of what they're doing. And then he tells me, they're not so good, or they could be good with a little bit of improvement. So we should, offer them this for page rates, or, and we go through the entire process of creating the list of possible people. And then we have different lists for different things. Like we're like, okay, this person probably will save them for a cover artist. Their stuff their pinup was really, really good. So let's keep them as a cover artist.
Right.
This guy, does interiors, or this girl, she does interiors. So let's keep her in the interior section, put her on the interior list, see which, if we get a project coming up that would match her art style, or his art style, or whoever's art style, their art style. Well, I don't know, these days everything's all different.
Yeah. So if you don't mind me asking,
No,
then
go ahead.
for Atrocity Press, then when people are submitting their portfolios, or writing samples, maybe, what is it that you really look for? What helps them rise above all the others?
If I can see passion in writing, for sure, and if I can see, if I look at a piece of, art is also, it's all subjective,
Sure.
so it's, do I like this? I don't know. I like it, but you hate it, I'll take a look at something, and I can pretty much instantaneously know if I like it or not.
Mhm.
And then if I like it, it passes my first visual test of, yeah, I like this. Then I send it to Fernando, and then he goes over the stuff, and he'll send it back with all these, with his red marker, his digital red marker. He's like, anatomy's
The
wrong
dreaded
here.
red marker.
Anatomy's wrong here. This is over here is wrong. This is wrong. But this guy, he's doing okay. This girl's fantastic. Let's pick her up. Definitely.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's the way we do it, and it works. It works so far. It works really, really well. we will definitely be probably building another team
Hmm.
for another to get on another book, probably within the next 6 months. So if you do want to be considered for it, you need to make that submission. So submit your portfolios to submissions@atrocitypress.com.
Very cool. Now we're looking at some of the interior art for Human Hunters issue 1, which
Yep.
looks fantastic. Water is not easy.
No, it is not easy to do. And this is one of people's favorite panels is the hand.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Because it shows just the movement and the bubbles and everything. And the blues are the way they just.
And then this one is powerful too, just coming out of the
Yeah.
water.
Yeah, I mean, and the colors of the blue hues of everything. It's like it's there, but and it's powerful, but it's not overpowering.
Right. Right. So now when it came to starting to build the business of Atrocity Press,
Mhm.
did it kind of come naturally, or like, well, I'm already doing it, I might as well just, dive in. And did it ever feel too big? Like, what the hell did I do?
Uh, it feels too big every day. I go through the the small business daily what do they call it? The small business daily function
Hmm.
where it's like you wake up and you're like, ah, yay, I run my own business. Let's go to work. Why did I do this? I can't do this.
Yeah.
Okay, everything's fine. No problem.
And then you're working 25/8, a
Yep.
25/8 week.
Yep.
It's just
Yep.
like, oh man, what did I do?
But hey, it's all worth it in the end because I'm when I can hold the books
Hmm.
in my hand, it makes it worth it.
Yeah. When you published your first book and you finally got it in your hand, what was that like?
It was surreal. They all showed up in the big boxes, the big packages. So I opened it up and I opened the package, and then I had to open the littler package, and then I had to open the littler package, and I finally got to it, and I was holding it, and I could just put it up to my nose, and I smelled the ink, and I was like,
That
"Oh
that
man!"
is that is
And
a true writer when you smell the ink, or an artist even.
yeah, and I'll admit that I welled up a bit. I didn't cry, but I welled
Hmm.
up a bit. And then I went out into the garage and I sat down and I smoked a joint and read my comic book.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Nice. Yeah, there's something, there are people who, for every book that they put out, it's like Christmas time when they get the books in hand, and it's just
It's
that.
Christmas time for about 2 days, and then you're like, okay, fulfillment.
Oh yeah, like, oh, these shipping labels, oh, post office, oh, packing, and all the
Yeah,
tape and
my
everything.
shipping label printer broke
Oh no.
just the other day. It just would just keep spitting the labels out, like it just run through the entire like, "Brrr," and
Mhm.
I'm like, what are you doing? So I had to buy a new one, and those are not cheap.
No, definitely not. So we're going through your campaign, and I see a whole
Mhm.
bunch of excuse me, variant covers. And there seems to be a debate about variant covers. There are a lot of people who are like, well, who's going to buy the same comic, but 10 times over because they want all these variants and things like that. And then there are some people who are like, well, for every variant cover, I'm giving an artist a job.
Exactly. We don't. There are some people that go hard with variants. Um, we usually keep it to like maybe 5, 6 covers
Hmm.
per campaign, and one cover is always a naughty cover.
Hmm.
So we've got that always taken care of. And then cover A, the standard cover, is always done by the interior artist. that way, because it always drives me nuts when you look at the book and you're like, man, that cover is awesome, and then you get it and you open the book and you're like, this art is trash.
Right.
What
Right.
happened? It's like, what happened? But
That happened to me a couple of times, especially when everything was shut down. And
Mhm.
so, we're relying a little heavier on what we see on the internet.
yeah,
And it's like, okay, well, I didn't bother to look for interior art. And that's that's the thing. It's like, if you don't have interior art on your campaign, I'm probably not likely to look at it, because if I'm only looking at your variant covers, it's like,
that's
there's
our
that level.
That's our beefcake and cheesecake cover right there.
Yes, I see
And
that. Will there be hashtag man butt in it?
there may be, not in this issue, but maybe in the future. Now, do you notice the innuendo with the champagne?
Oh, why? Yes, I do.
If you
But yeah,
back,
this is actually a very lovely cover.
actually, this is not a cover.
Oh,
These are
this is a print?
prints. Yep. If you back the naughty cover, which is the one above it that we just saw,
This one
then
here.
yep, at $1,000, when we raised $1,000, we released the first print, which is that one.
Nice.
And then at $2,000, we released the next one, which is the second
The
print.
detail on the stockings is amazing.
Oh yeah, Fernando can just these were done by Fernando. He's been really working with these textures, and the textures that he's got are just awesome.
Mm-hmm.
He even puts skin textures on people and stuff, and I'm like, man, I don't think they can see that detailed on the page. And he's like, but I know it's there.
Right.
And then we just got over 3,000, so we released that one, and then we've got one more of the naughty ones. So at 4,000, that one will be released, and then that's when the first official stretch goal happens too of the bookmark. This is our
you've got a calendar going on.
2020 calendar. Yep, I have my Mary Machine Gun calendar from the first one. This is what they look like.
Oh, hold on a second. Let me get you on the big screen.
Oh,
nice.
Very cool.
They're all just different things, but it's November.
That's like a calendar that you don't want to throw out.
Yep. That's what we try to keep it that way. But yeah, we like to say that the calendar is safe for work depending on where you work at. Because there's no nudity, but it is, a lot of suggestive posing and stuff like that.
Sure.
And implied nudity behind the flag.
So is this a separate tier?
Yes, the calendar is its own thing. You can get like calendar with book A, calendar with book B.
So it's also available as an add-on then. If
you
wanted to.
Nice.
Okay.
Everything's an add-on. All our covers are add-ons. All the tiers are add-ons.
Now this is interesting. I haven't seen this often on a campaign. The cardboard stand-up.
No, they
6
don't.
feet tall.
Yep, and I got Mary Machine Guns behind me.
Yes,
that's the 6 foot tall Mary Machine Gun right there. That's the one we did last time, and here's the first one we did, which technically she is 6 feet tall when you count the gun.
Right. So now, okay, here's the question: Have you had fun with her? Have you put her behind doors and windows and things, just kind of scare the shit out of people?
When we went on vacation, I put her in the window down here.
Oh gosh.
So,
put her in the window in the back seat of your car so you can go, on the other lane. That's stuff.
But this one is Kirstine, which is the cat burglar girl from the first one. We're gonna do a series of them, and then like the next issue when we do the Kickstarter, we'll do Cleo or whoever we do next, and we see that smoke down there. It's actually gonna let you connect them together to where you can have they'll all be standing together in the pose that's on a cover. So it'll be like a huge giant version of the cover. That's available at.
So, but what was the idea behind that? Like I said, I haven't really seen that.
I like cardboard stand-ups.
Mm-hmm.
I've always liked them. Behind Mary is Vampirella.
Okay.
And
Very
I've got
cool.
many more upstairs. And I've always dug cardboard stand-ups. I've just thought to me, as a kid, it's like if you had a stand-up, you'd made it. You
Mhm.
know, why would someone make a stand-up if you weren't important enough to have a stand-up made?
Sure. I mean, and that's something that, like, even if a local comic book shop wanted to have that.
Yeah, as signage, we've got
Yeah.
it. Johnnie, the guy that I do my writing with, he owns a local comic shop, so we've got one of these up there at his shop.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely draws attention and stuff like that. And, that's a pretty good idea. I wonder
Yeah.
if more people would adopt it, because that is a great way to not only promote your project, but it helps like really stand out, especially if you can get into a local shop.
Yeah. I'm not going to say that. I mean, they're not cheap to have made,
No, definitely not.
but they're definitely worth it if you can afford to do that, to go that direction. Because I mean, most of the time, if you can get it to a shop, it's going to stay up unless someone buys it.
Right.
Most shops will sell it to people, but it's definitely going to stay up in the shop. So that's a good thing. I mean, to have your character.
So if you don't mind me asking you kind of like a business question, then
Yeah.
On Kickstarters and stuff, I've seen more and more people put in a vendor's tier or a comic shop tier. Do you think that works on Kickstarter?
You know, I'd like to say that it would, or that it does, but there's only a couple books that I know of that the vendor tier really sold anything. And that was like maybe one or two people that bought in on it. Most vendors aren't going to Kickstarter to buy comic books to put in their shops. They're just not. They're going through Diamond because they've been going through Diamond for ever. Right. Or they've been going through Diamond and then they went through all the other ones beforehand. Well, they have that Impact and a whole bunch of other distribution houses back in the late 80s. But yeah,
it seems like a hard sell, because again, I guess the comic book shops, they have their own business to run, and so trying to keep it simple, and with the amount of Kickstarters that are out there.
Oh yeah, there's like 4,000 Kickstarter. There's 4,000 comic book Kickstarters out there currently.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's 4,000 people vying for the same.
Yeah, the dollars.
There's. I mean, people like to say that there's an unlimited amount of people. There's enough for everybody, but there is enough for everybody if you're willing to take a little less money, but you've got to come in there and bring a superior product to the market, and that's why we've got a pretty strenuous quality control system at Atrocity Press. It's got to get approved by me, Fernando, and Johnnie before the page is approved at each step, at the pencils, at the inks, and at the colors. So those are so if someone wants, like, let's change this, or I don't like this, or maybe this should be better this way, and it helps everybody be part of the program, as part of the system. It gets them involved into it, and it helps them become emotionally involved in the project, which gets you a better project.
Right. Well, Max, we are at the end of the hour. We actually went over a little bit. I know it went by really fast. So we've been kind of scrolling through your campaign here for anybody who might be listening without their eyeballs on. We are talking to Max DeVill about Human Hunters issue 1, which is on Kickstarter. It's got 10 days to go. It ends November 30th, 2021. If you've backed it, thank you. If you haven't, just, take a look at it, share it out, hit the button. That's what I always say.
Facebook button or the Twitter button.
Do it.
Yes.
Do it.
Hit the button. So on that note, we usually have one more question that we love to ask, and that is for anybody new who's coming into comics. What would be the best piece of advice you could give them?
Coming into comics as a creator?
As a creator, as anything, and just anybody who's stepping into the comics arena as a creator, whether they're an artist or a writer, even a publisher, I guess. What would be the best piece of advice you could give them?
Follow your gut. I mean, you're gonna have.
I don't know about that, Max. I told you we kissed a lot of frogs.
Well, you gotta. But when you were going through that whole system, though, did that not teach you something?
For sure, absolutely.
And we're still here, so there you go.
Exactly.
Follow your gut.
I mean,
okay.
You have to follow your gut, because usually don't you ever notice that usually if you really follow your gut, you're right more often than not.
That is true. It's the second guessing the gut that usually gets you into trouble.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Follow the gut. Don't second guess it. Just charge forward. Go with it and commit. You have to commit, because if you don't commit to it and you just kind of hem and haw about it and you kind of just BSing around, it's just not going to work.
Mm-hmm. Well, on that note, we could probably talk to you for another hour or two, but we got to get the heck out of here. So on that note, hey, Max, if you could do us a favor.
Sure.
Can you say, throw my dudes?
Throw my dudes.
We're out of here, you guys. Thank you for tuning in. We were raging with Max DeVill. He's got Human Hunters issue 1 on Kickstarter right now. Get over there, give it some love, share it out with your friends, and share out this live stream as well. We appreciate every single one of you. Have a great evening. We're out of here. Hey there. This is Meredith Loughran with RAGIN. And I wanted to let you know that we encourage and promote independent creators and their projects through organic interaction, consultations, and more. Visit Nita and me at RAGINAVC.com for details and contact information. Hit the button.